Okay, so for today's workout, we're going to be permanently on the floor and we're going to be working our abdominals. So don't forget, leave yourself some effort to work on your abdominals. So don't go right until you feel exhausted on every time we work on the tummies. If your tummy starts to ache in the early exercises, ease off because we're going to be having every other exercise as abdominals. Let's start by rolling back onto the mat. If you're using a towel or a pillow under your head, make sure it's quite narrow. Elongate the neck, feet and knees hip width apart, neutral spine. So let's start by just pushing the back into the mat, little pelvic tilt, just loosening through the lower back, getting some movement in that area. Coming back to neutral, so you've got a neutral spine. And we're going to take the arms to the side. I'm going to do the 100, so breathe in, and as you breathe out, take the legs up one at a time to tabletop. Anytime it gets too much, you can put your feet down. Those that want to can take their legs out into the extended tabletop, and you're going to lift the shoulders and head off the ground and pump the arms. So in, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 10. In, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 20. In, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 30. If you need to put your head down at any time, do. That's 30. In, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 40. In, 2, 3, 4, 5, breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 50. In, 2, 3, out, 60. In, 2, out, 70, 80, 90, that's your 100. Hug your knees into the chest. And let's just take a little twist of the head to one side and the other, just to loosen anything in your neck that might be feeling a bit tense after that. Okay, taking the legs down one at a time to the floor. And we're going to do quite a simple one to start with, which is knee folds. So all we're doing, hinging from the hip, bringing the leg up to tabletop and back down. So here, I want you to concentrate on keeping the pelvis as still as possible. So quite an easy move comparatively. Down. So really be aware here of what's going on with your lower back. You're trying to keep that back in neutral. And rest. From here, let's take it to knee drops. So still working on keeping the pelvis still. So what I want you to really concentrate here is think of pulling up your pelvic floor, pulling your belly button back towards the spine and breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. But we're trying to engage all the muscles in the core to keep the pelvis still. So not really working the tummy as such, but we're trying to keep the pelvis still, keep the abdominals as flat as possible as we take these knee drops. Nice and slow and controlled. Maybe put your hands on those bony protrusions on the top of your hips. Try and think of them as a pair of headlights pointing to the sky, and you want them to stay where they are as you move the legs side to side. Really concentrating on engaging the core and breathing out as you go down, in as you come back up. And you're trying to keep that other leg still. If you're struggling with that, push the opposite heel into the mat. One more each side, and then we'll go back to the abdominals, actually working them. Come back center. Okay, from there we're going to come up now again into tabletop. So get yourself comfortable, make sure you've got that neutral spine, cores engaged, so you pull the belly button back towards the spine, think about your pelvic floor, and we're going to do the opposite of those knee folds. So again, as you take the leg down, it's only the hip that's moving. The knee stays at 90 degrees as you toe tap towards the floor. Don't worry if you can't get it all the way down. Try and keep that belly as flat as possible as you do it. I want my fingertips on my tummy. And the moment I feel the muscles beginning to quiver, I'm coming back up. Be really aware of what's going on with your lower back. Once you've had enough, hug the knees into the chest. I'm going to do one more each side. But if you've had enough, do rest. We've got a lot more to come yet. Last one. Make sure you even up both sides. You want to try and keep it as even as possible. Give it a little rub. Feet and knees. So feet to the floor one at a time. Take the arms out to the side, out of the way. And we're just going to let the knees drop down. So top foot comes away from the floor. Breathe out as the legs go to one side. Breathe in as you come back up. Just loosening through the back. A little bit of stretch through the side of the tummy. Just I'm going to do a couple each way. And the other side. Come back center. Okay, once again, bring the knees in one at a time. This time all the way in. Get that neutral spine. So once you haven't rounded the lower back into the mat, come back up into neutral spine. And we're going to do single leg stretch. So you're taking one leg away. The opposite hand touches the inside. Shoulders and head off the ground if you can. Breathing out as you go away, in as you come in. Reaching the inside hand to the inside of the opposite foot. And as you do this, be aware of what's going on with your back. So how low you go is going to depend on how well you're controlling your core. Think of pulling in the pelvic floor. If it's too much for your head, drop it down. Too much for your neck, drop it down. Head down towards the mat. You can bring the head back up if and when you want, or just leave the head on the ground. If you lift your head, it is going to work your tummy a bit harder. You might do slightly less. You're going to be working the upper as well as the lower abdominals. Even it up both sides. I started on the other one. Hug in. Give it a rest again. Let's go back to an easier exercise. We're going to go for leg slides. So watch your feet are in alignment. Opposite arm and leg. Slide one arm, one leg away. So here you're watching that you're not going to lift your rib cage. We're trying to keep the opposite leg as still as possible. So here, if the brain isn't in gear for doing opposite arm and leg today, you can just concentrate on the legs. This is a rest between the abdominal exercises more than anything. If you want to do a little bit of coordination, add the opposite arm and leg and watch what's going on with your rib cage. Okay, before we do the next one, we'll do a little bit of warming up the legs. So bringing both knees into the chest, let's just take the legs up towards straight. I want you to feel that stretch in the back of the leg, the back of the knee. Whatever speed feels good for you. So if it's fast, it's fast. If you want to go slower, go slower. But as you're doing this, again, be aware of what's happening with your lower back. You should have that neutral spine. Okay, taking both legs up as straight as you can get them, but be aware of what's going on with your back. And we're going to do single leg drop, so you're taking the leg towards the floor and then back up. If you need to bend the knee slightly, do, but we're feeling the stretch in the back of the straightened leg. We're pulling this leg in. Now, normally we're concentrating on the leg that we're pulling in, on this sort of leg pull scissors exercise, but actually as you go down, you're working the muscles across the hip, and you're going to feel that in your tummy if you take the leg quite low. So what I want you to do it at your own speed, but take that leg as low as you comfortably can. Head off the ground if you can, but again, if that's not comfortable, let your head come down. Keep that neutral spine and really control your core. You're pulling your abdominals in, belly button back towards the spine. Think about that pelvic floor, trying to engage all those core muscles. When you've had enough, hug the knees in, give yourself a bit of a rest. And knees in. Little circle. Okay. Let's go now. As we've managed to stretch that leg slightly, take the right leg up in the air, a little bit of rest for the abdominals. Leg circle. Now, you can stay there. If that's uncomfortable, if your knee is very badly bent, take it down and think of circling the knee to the sky rather than the foot, whichever is good. And what I'm going to get you to do today is take your hands onto your pelvis, and we are trying to keep the pelvis still, but I want you to see if you can take it a bit bigger than we normally do. So we're really challenging the pelvis, but of course all the muscles around the abdominals and your core attach around and about these muscles. You need your deep core muscles around the pelvis to activate, and we want that flat belly. So we're going to really work all the muscles in the hip change direction. You need to be just about in control. Don't let it go so that your hips are wobbling. I hope you understood what I meant there. I didn't put that very clearly, really. Okay, let's come back to the other leg. Bring it in, down. The other leg comes in, take it up. And again, if you need to be knee circles, that's fine. Nice and slow and controlled. We start off drawing a small circle on the sky or on the ceiling, and then make it a bit bigger. You're trying to keep the other leg still. But really be aware of what's going on in the core area around your abdominals as you do this. Try and take it out a little bit further and get those muscles to work to stabilize your pelvis. See if you can go a little bit further than you normally do. Rather than being about mobility here, we're going to really work the muscles in the core. Bring that knee in when you've had enough. And rest. Okay, taking the arms out to the side, let's have a little stretch to one side. Take both legs to one side and just allow the knees to drop to the floor and hold it on that side. Take a couple of breaths, keeping both shoulders on the floor. Come back center. Let's take it over to the other side, have a little bit of a rest. Now come back center. The next exercise isn't suitable for anyone with osteoporosis, but what I want you to do is do it if you're happy, which is the roll like a ball. This does actually work some of the muscles in the tummy because you're using so many muscles to roll. But if you can, I love this one. It really doesn't work very well for me. But and coming up to sitting. So it works quite a lot of muscles. You're using your arms on your legs to help with movement there. Going to come away from the core for just a moment. I'll sit back into the corner so I'm facing in, feet and knees hip width apart. If you need to lean back against something, take the arms behind you, and we're just going to do single leg lifts. Single leg lifts. It's working the hip flexor muscles. But if you've got any weakness in your knees, you're going to feel it there as well because you're trying to keep the legs straight. Now, holding the right leg up and hold and release. Left leg hold and release. Okay, for the next exercise, I'm going to turn sideways. You can stay where you are. We're going to come down onto our elbows. Bring the knees into the chest. And you're going to stretch alternate legs out. Just stretch. And you're going to really start feeling that in your tummy now once you've had enough rest. Really going to be starting to feel that in your tummy muscles now. Let's have a bit of a rest. We're going to come to a wide leg seated position. Now, if you find that your back is dropping back, sit on a pillow, sit on a block or a towel. And all I want you to do is just walk your hips back so that you're sitting really forward on your sit bones. Adjust those legs until you just about feel the stretch on the inside. I'm going to turn towards the right leg, keeping the hips facing me. And I want you to do is fold from the waist, so keeping the chin retracted, head up. Just ease until you feel the stretch on the inner thigh, maybe in your back. Now you can either hold it there, those that can, you're going to take your right arm down towards the foot. The other arm you're going to take back at 180 degrees, take it up by your ear, reach up and over and think about getting a stretch through the side of your body. If you're not comfortable with that, then stick here. Come back centre. Get yourself back comfortably seated, pointing forward. And we're going to go to the opposite leg. So start by turning to the left leg. Sit tall, fold from the waist, chin retracted. Doesn't matter how far you go. Some of you are still only going to be here. Some people might be a long way down, but keep that chin relaxed and back above the head. And again, you can either reach down a bit further down the leg, or if you're comfortable, open up, back to 180 degrees, arm up behind the ear. Think of reaching up and stretching over so you're feeling the stretch up through the side of the body. Okay, let's do the saw. So very gently. Now this is a rotational movement, so anyone with osteoporosis needs to be really cautious here. It's forward fold and rotation. So if you do have any suspicions you've got osteoporosis, keep the movement small and gentle. Just get that rotation. If you know your bones are really strong, then carry on. But reset in the middle. That's why I take my arms out to a wide reset in the middle. Let everything line back up. Again, it doesn't matter if you only come to here and if you keep it really small. Really about getting some rotation through the spine. Okay, from here we're going to go into a half roll back. So sit towards the front of your mat, feet hip width apart, knees hip width apart. Engage your core. Now you have a choice. You can grab hold of your legs and come back, but what I'd like you to try and do if you can is come back to about 45 degrees and lift. If you'd rather slide your hands up and down your legs, that's fine, or take the arms forward. Now those of you that know you're able, we can do a complete roll down, but what I want you to do, keep your feet for now flat on the floor. If your feet are coming away, you're going too far. Those of you that are able, let's go into a roll down. Arms over the head, roll and come back up. That's an option. If not, just stay with previous movement. A couple more if you can. If you've had enough, roll back, hug your knees into the chest, and just give it a bit of a wiggle. Okay. Lying back on the floor, again, extend the neck. If you need a small support under your neck, under your head, then please do. And I'm going to get you to bring the legs up one at a time into tabletop. Now really control this one. If you struggle with this one, take the feet to the ground and do the same thing with the foot on the ground. But what I want you to do is control. Pull your abdominals in, tighten all those core muscles, including your pelvic floor, and you're going to drop that knee out to the side and bring it back up. Now it might be that you can only do a small amount. If that is too much for you, keep both feet on the floor and just do our normal leg drops out to the side. But if you want to really challenge those core muscles, taking the leg out, controlling it back. Be really aware of what's going on here. Feel what's going on with those tummy muscles, with all those muscles in the core. Are they popping up? Are you actually controlling them where they are? And breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. Breathe out as the leg goes down, in as it comes back up. Really getting quite hard now. So slightly different muscles working there. Hug and relax. Okay, let's just do a nice full body stretch. Take the legs away from you, arms above your head, and stretch. Try and avoid arching the back. Keep that neutral spine, but stretch through the body. If that's uncomfortable in your arms, then just take the legs away and feel, just stretch the feet away from you. Just get a bit of movement and stretch through the lower body. Just a bit of a rest. And release. Bring the knees back in to the chest. And we're going to roll up to sitting. Okay. From here, we're going to come into a kneeling position. I'm going to take right leg out to the side. I want you to take that a little bit further until you feel a stretch on the inner thigh. Just move. I haven't quite got enough room to move that way a little bit. Feel a stretch. Control that though. Watch you're not sliding. Come back. Come to the other side. So a little bit of a stretch on the inner thigh. Adjust until you're just feeling that stretch. So hip is directly above the other knee. It's a little bit awkward, that one. Coming back centre. Okay. I want you to be comfortable, so you can sit, stand. You can stand if you prefer. We're going to do the dumb waiter. Elbows back in tight. Hands starting directly in front. You're going to come out to the side, rotating from the shoulder. Trying to get them even both sides. You can just about doing this one sitting down, but really you need to be either kneeling or standing. Let's flip the hands over and do the same again. Anytime it feels a little bit uncomfortable, make the movement smaller. And release, flip the hands again. So from here you're going to reach out as far as is comfortable. So some of you will manage to straighten your arms. For me, that's as far as I comfortably go before it starts to feel very tense and I go uneven. So you go with what is best for you, coming back, hands to here, as if you're holding a tray. Let's flip the hands. And again, if it feels wrong flipping the hands, if it's really uncomfortable, this is where I really feel that I've been knitting a lot of tension in my right shoulder. One more. And back in. Push down. And a little bit to work. It's going to work really the chest muscles, but I can actually feel the muscles in the rib cage here working. It's pushing the hands together and push the hands and fingers. Think of engaging your core. Keep breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. And if you can, I mean, your hands you might find you can't get the fingers flat together or the hands together, but if you can do, and if you can then lift the elbows slightly and feel that engaging across the chest. And release. Now, let's concentrate on the fingers. So all you do is push these fingers together, your four fingers. Resist them against each other. Get some strength in those fingers. Try to keep them straight if you can. I find my knuckles tend to bend away, but we're just getting some strength in those fingers and release. Next finger, so your middle finger, just pushing those. Trying to concentrate just on that one finger and release. Ring finger. And then your little fingers. And your thumbs. I'm just clasping my hands loosely and just pushing them against each other. Just getting some strength. If it's uncomfortable, adjust. You could try pushing that way, but actually that way is going to give you the grip. Now, fingers, grip, thumb, and first finger. So this is mainly a break from working our tummies, giving it a bit of a rest. Make sure your body's comfortable. If you're not comfortable sitting the way you are, adjust your position. Come for comfortable. Just getting some extra strength, thinking of strength work in the fingers. So rest your elbows on your knees if that's comfortable. Okay, circle the wrists. That was a little bit of a break. We're going to come back to our tummies. So, I'm going to show you the full move, feet hip width apart. Now this again is a rotation move, so anyone with osteoporosis needs to be a little bit more cautious with this, and you might need to hold one hand. Full version is coming back and up. Coming back and up. Now, if you know you've got a weakness, hold the leg. Just to take the pressure off your spine as you come back, so that you're not putting the full load into your spine. If you don't like that with your arms, just slide the hand down the leg. And again, anyone with osteoporosis who wants to keep that a little gentler, or anyone who just wants to keep it a little gentler, slide the leg down. We're looking for a rotation movement back as far as is comfortable. Even it up both sides, so if you started on the right, finish on the left. And let's roll back down to the mat. Okay. You bring your right leg in, take it up to the sky, and then drop it out to the side as far as is comfortable. If that doesn't work for you, just stick with the lift and straighten in and down. If you're able to lift, straighten, leg out to the side, bring it in, and you're trying to keep the other leg as still as possible. We're staying just with one leg for now. We're going to do 4 on one side. Now that was 4 for me, but most of you will have joined after the first one. So once you've done 4 on the right, we're going to change to the left. And remember, those that can't take the leg out to the side for any reason, just stick, taking the foot down to the floor. And maybe do a few more out to the side. So while you're doing this, you're trying to control your core. Think of those bony protrusions on the top of your hips. You're trying to keep those pointing to the sky like a pair of headlights. So your leg isn't going to go all the way down. You're not allowing the pelvis to drop. Keeping those core muscles engaged. For most of you, that should be 4, but I'll give you a little bit of time to catch up if you're moving more slowly. And rest. Okay, let's go back to just some basic core movement. So we're going to think about, just be aware of your core muscles, about your pelvis, where it is. Are you in neutral spine? Have you got that little bit of gap under your lower back? Are your hips even, left and right? Put your middle finger maybe on that bony protrusion and your thumb down towards the floor. Is the gap about the same? If not, wiggle round, try and get that even. And let's rock the back, rock the pelvis, arch the back and lower it into the mat. Just get that tilt backwards and forwards, north-south tilt. And come back to neutral. Let's take it side to side or east and west. So your knees are likely to move as you do this. harder to get much movement there. And we're going to now take it around the clock. So you can think of the numbers 12, 3, 9, 12, 3, 6, 9, or north, east, south, west. Pelvic clocks. You go 3 in one direction. And 3 in the other. Keep breathing all the time. Movement might be quite small at times. And then again, other way. And if you've gone quite fast, you might have finished by now. Anyone who hasn't finished, or who has finished and is waiting for anyone else, just do a little north-south. Just to loosen back up again. Okay, we're going to do something a little bit different, which is a reverse curl. So if you've got anything under your head, you probably want to take it away. You're going to bring your knees into your chest. Take the arms onto the mat, that side of you. And what I want you to do is use your lower tummy muscles. So you're going to engage your core, so pull the belly button back to the spine, pull up the pelvic floor, and as you breathe out, try and lift the pelvis off the floor. Now you might use your hands to push into the mat. You might not even move, it might be really small. I can feel that even just doing that small amount. When my tummy is really strong, I can lift my bottom quite a long way off the ground. Now be aware of what's going on there. I can feel one side on me is much stronger than the other today. I'm wanting to lift at a side angle. But you are engaging those muscles, just trying to lift. Try not to make it about swinging the legs. The legs will swing, but it's not swinging the legs to lift. It's using those abdominal muscles. That's quite a lot of effort for very little movement for most people. Taking the legs back down. Okay. Let's do a little bit of arm work. Arms straight up in the air, palms facing. And I'm going to just get you to lift one shoulder and release. Lift and let that shoulder push back into the mat. Keep the elbows softly locked. So we're not tightening the elbows out, but we're trying not to bend them. Concentrate on moving the shoulder girdle. If you're more comfortable with your legs out straight, that's fine too. Okay, coming back. We're going to do a bicycle crunch. Now again, this is a twisting movement, so be really cautious if you've got osteoporosis or you're concerned about anything in that way. If you can, take your shoulders and head off the ground. Arms by the side of the head if you can. So fingertips by the ears. You're not going to pull on the head, your fingertips by the ears. And we're going to take one leg away and bring the shoulder up. Now, if that is uncomfortable for you with your hands, take your hands onto your shoulders and think of taking the shoulder forward. If that really is too much, just stick with the legs. But we really are trying, if we can, to get that cross movement. Don't make it just about the elbow coming forward. Quite often say keep the elbow back. It doesn't really matter if you bring the elbow forward as long as you're not pulling on your head. But think of taking that shoulder towards the opposite knee. That's quite intense if you're not used to it. the knees in. Okay. And rest. Let's come up to sitting again. Quite a lot of hard work there for the tummy. What I want to do next is some standing work, so I'm just going to very quickly adjust my camera. I'm not too worried if I can't see you, but we're going to come up. Adjust my camera just a small amount. Coming up to standing, feet hip width apart. So what we're doing here, start off just getting some movement in the heels. The reason I'm doing this one, really good. The calf muscles are what helps pump the blood back up through the body to the heart and the brain. We need to keep our calves strong and our ankles strong. It's always a good idea. I'm just going up and down on both ankles. Really good exercise to practice while you're waiting for the kettle to boil. Or I tend to do it when I'm washing my teeth in the morning. Okay, now, though it's not directly abdominal muscles, it is core muscles around the pelvis. We want to keep the pelvis still. So having come up, even if it's only a couple of centimetres, half an inch, quarter of an inch, I want you to drop one heel at a time, keeping that pelvis still. So if you put your hands on your hips, you can feel what's going on there. We're not letting the hip drop side to side. We're just bending one knee and the other, controlling it on the core. Really trying to keep that pelvis as still as possible. Okay, and rest. Now I'm going to go for a standing clock. So this movement is really good for the balance, but you're going to have to use the muscles around the pelvis and in all of your core to keep you balanced. So we come up. First, nice easy one. We're going to take the leg across the front as if you're going to the points of a clock, touching out. 1, 2. Your standing leg is pointing forward. So think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then across behind. Can't quite make the far side. And then when you come back to the centre, come up. We started just by touching. So I'm just touching that foot across in front. Now for some of you that will be enough. If you've got any weakness in your hips at all, watch that that foot is pointing forward. Whoa, out to the side. Keeping that head up. The moment you look down, as you saw when I looked down, the balance is likely to go because your head is heavy. Lift and lower. Right, we're going to make it a bit harder for those who want it. If you found that quite hard, stick with that one. But if you can, you're going to reach a little bit further and not put the foot on the floor. You can use your arms however you want to balance. I'm bending and supporting the leg slightly. By doing this, you're using all sorts of different muscles to reach in all the different directions. And if you're working on carpet or like me, a very spongy floor, it can be quite difficult. So last time on the left leg. Cross behind and lift. Okay. I'm going to do some standing leg work. So this is going to work again. We're not really working the core directly, but I want us to do some on the legs because obviously if the glute muscles, if these muscles, particularly the glute medius here, is weak, then you're going to potentially fall. But also we want to keep ourselves, by working the legs, you're going to keep this area stronger. So you might need to find a wall. I have a wall there, I mustn't lean against that when it's a bookcase. If you need a wall or a chair, in fact I'm going to grab, excuse me, my chair. I don't want to embarrass myself by falling over. So I have quite a high stool here. Feet hip width apart. Try and avoid leaning into your chair. We're just going to lift the leg out to the side. So for now, we're standing on our stationary leg. If anyone's finding that really uncomfortable, you can lie down on the floor and do exactly the same workout. So the exercise we do, we're adding a little bit of extra, because the moment you do this, you're using the muscles in this side of the body. So watch that your ankle is leading, that you're not turning the toes out. Because if you can do it with no support, marvellous, but I don't want to embarrass myself. Okay, I'm going to change to the other side. I'm just going to move away. With this chair, I've got a little bit of space. You might need to turn around or move your chair. It's a slightly wobbly chair, so only just a balance for me. While you're doing this, we're really trying to keep the body upright, so we're not leaning into your chair or dipping out to the side. And you're going to be feeling it here. Okay, now turning. Again, if you've got something you can lean against, a wall's good, door frame, watch you're not going to lean against a door that you're going to push away, particularly for this one. I want you to keep your body as upright as possible. You might end up leaning slightly forward, but watch you're not bending at the waist. And what I want you to do is squeeze back. Now this is going to be a small movement. If you can, just stick with one leg at a time. If you've got problems with your hips and it is a little bit uncomfortable, then you can alternate legs, just to take the pressure off the standing leg. But again, you're going to be working all those muscles. We're working the bum, nice and slow. You might need to slightly bend the knee in order to get that foot in and out. Let's change sides. So again, please alternate one and the other if that's easier for you. And if you're doing it without, it is possible. And release. Okay. Taking the legs, I stand back a bit so you can see me. Legs nice and wide. This time the feet are pointing out. And we're just going to come down. Now think of sitting back rather than coming forward. Try and keep your body upright. You might come forward slightly. We're looking to sit back. So it's sort of your Pilates squat that we normally do with the feet forward. We've got the legs wide. Hands on your thighs if you need to. And just hold as low as is comfortable. Just be really aware of your knees. Knees should be over the ankles, above the ankles, rather than further away. So adjust if you need to. Watch you're not going to slip. Okay, coming back. We go for our Pilates squat. So this time feet are hip width apart and we're sitting back. So you might want to take your arms forward for balance here, but we're looking as if we're sitting back in a chair. So this is the sort of position we're looking for, really trying to keep the back in neutral. If you've got that wall in front of you, you can use that for your fingertips. Put your hands on your thighs and release. Take it back down. Think of engaging the core. Keep breathing and release. And again. And release. Okay, coming back. So a little bit of moving balance this time. If you've got a chair, move it out of the way. Come back to your mat. Feet hip width apart. Actually, no, feet together. Feet staying forward. We're going to take that out to the side, rock and back. Out to the side, rock and back. This time, yes, we're working these muscles here on this back of the hips, side of the bottom. Watch that those feet are staying in alignment as they go out to the side. Now if you want to, you can add a side arm lift. You don't have to. This is really just making your brain do something different. You need to do both arms. Both arms is easier because you don't have to think about which arm to lift. Now lose the arms. Next time we go to the right, I'm going to ask you to step together and then rock. Step together and rock. Step together and rock. That should really get those muscles working. Okay, coming back centre. Let's have a little bit of a stretch through the tummy. So as long as it's comfortable for you, taking the arms, hands one on top of the other. I like to not clasp them, it's up to you. Stretch up and reach up to the sky. Sorry, you can't quite see the top of my fingertips there, but hands, palms up, one on top of the other. And then we're going to take it over to one side. If that's uncomfortable for you, just stretch tall and lift down. So you can one arm, you can both arms. Come back centre. Release the arms, take them back up again. If you can, if that's not comfortable, then hold it here and just take the side bend. Or one arm or both. Watch as you're doing that. The arms are up by the ear. Now, for those of you that are happy with the arms in the air, I'm going to get you to take the arms this time across in front of the face, so slightly forward. You know, feel that stretch in a different position. Again, if that's not comfortable for you, just stay as if you're between two panes of glass and take the arm down and release. Come back and over to the other side. And again, slightly across in front of your face this time. So your body is staying as if you're between two panes of glass, but you're stretching the back, the side of the body in a slightly different position. Or just take it down. Well done. Coming back to a little bit of balance here. I'll turn sideways. You're going to take the right leg forward, back, forward, and change. Forward, back, forward, and change. Here, really control it on your core. So though it feels like you're working legs and hips, it's the whole of the core area. Think about pulling up your pelvic floor. Think about your breathing. And change. And we're going to change that now. So this is where you're really going to have to use those core muscles. If your balance is really bad, then by all means grab that wall or chair, and we're going to take it to a circle. But those that can, take it higher. Really control it on the core. Now I want you to be just in balance. So if you find you're really wobbling, by all means keep your toe on the floor. But if you can, and one more if you can, and then we're going to change legs. Walk it through if you need to. Hold your chair if you need to, or your wall, or your door frame. And again, toe on the floor is fine. But if you can take it higher and really use those abdominal muscles to circle and control. This is when I wish I was on the cold floor. This is really working me quite hard, being on a slightly unstable surface. Or if you can. This is where I'm registering the thickness of this mat. Okay, and release. We're just going to do one or two last stretches. And what you do, as we're standing, I'm going to get you to take, bend one knee, take the other leg forward. So with this sort of position, and you're going to push that hip. So this is my straight leg, front leg. I'm pushing that hip back, hands on the bent knee, flexing the foot up to feel the stretch through the back. So this is standing hamstring stretch. Keep that head relaxed down so that you're not staring up at the screen to me. Head is relaxed. Feel the stretch in the back of the leg. And release. Let's change legs. Other leg comes out straight in front. Knees bend. Pushing those buttocks back. Think of tilting the pelvis slightly away. Lifting the toes up to feel that stretch. And release. I'm going to do one more stretch for those that are comfortable with it. We're going to stretch across the chest. So you're going to take the arms behind. Clasp them one on top of the other. Again, you can clasp the fingers if you prefer. I like to just put them one on top of the other. You're going to squeeze back and then lift. Just to stretch across the chest. Try and stop the chest lifting forward. Keep the chest back. So chest low, cage low, and stretch across and release. Well done, everyone. That was quite hard work today.